Good morning, folks. Hey, are you looking for a piece of land up here in the North Country in Maine? Well, if you are, come along with me today. We're going to take a look at a property in the town of Hersey, 115 acres of timberland. This property is perfect for a home site, a cabin site, investment timberland, a hunting property, a recreational property you can ride your ATV and snowmobile from, or maybe a combination of all those. Hey, before we get going and take a look at this property, I want to say a special thank you to all the subscribers we have to our channel and all the likes and shares you've given us over the years. And I'd like a special shout out to all the friends I've met because of this channel that have come up here and either looked at property or bought a property from me. If you're new to the channel and this is the first time you've seen one of our videos, consider liking it after you watch it. If you do like it, share it with some friends that you think might be interested in the state of Maine, and hit that subscription button down below so you won't miss the next video that we put out. We're located right now along the side of I-95, a scenic turnout on the way to Hersey, and that's Mount Katahdin behind me, Maine's largest mountain, and that's the area we're looking at property here today in Hersey. So let's jump in the truck. We'll head up a little further north and get you on that 115 acres. We're out here on Route 11 now. We've just arrived at the property here in Hersey, and we've got about 900 feet of frontage and a couple different sections here along the Aroostook Scenic Highway. Notice that there is grid power out here, there's communication lines, and this road is maintained year-round, plowed and taken care of by the state of Maine. All right, now that we've seen the main road frontage out here on US Route 11 or the Aroostook Scenic Highway, we're going to take a drive up the road, go in on Mountain Road, and then we'll go for a walk in the woods. We've made it over here onto Mountain Road, and we're near the northern boundary of the property. If you see our map overlay, we've got the tax record map approximately laid over the aerial photo for you, so you can see this location. One of the first things I want to note, this Mountain Road we'll talk about a little later is part of the International Appalachian Trail System. So this is the trail north of Mount Katahdin. So we're in the town of Hersey, and Hersey is the first town you're going to come to in Aroostook County if you're traveling north on Route 11. You're going to leave Patton, you're going to come through Mount Chase, and you're going to cross the county line, and that's Hersey. Town of Hersey is a whopping population here of 73 people, so this is by definition pretty rural. The nearest services to here are going to be the town of Patton, which is about 8 miles south of our location. Town of Patton's got a grocery store, it's got hardware, there's health clinic there, a lot of small shops, couple restaurants, small brewery. Kind of a cool area. It's the gateway to the northern part of Baxter State Park and also Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument, which we'll talk about a little later. From here, we're about 36 miles to the nearest hospital, which would be in the city of Houlton, Maine, and Houlton is the county seat of southern Aroostook County. It's on the border with New Brunswick, Canada, Woodstock. It's got a nice sized airport there, nice town, lots of services from car dealers and large box stores and everything you could want. Bangor, which is northern Maine's second or largest town in the north half of the state, that's about 96 miles south of us. Most of that is over I-95, so it's real easy to get up here over 95. We're, I think, 16 miles from either the Island Falls I-95 on-ramp or the 16 miles to the Sherman and Patton on-ramp. The city of Presque Isle, northern Maine's, Aroostook County's largest city, that's about 60 miles north of us here. They also have a small commercial airport and a large hospital. The city of Boston is about 331 miles, or I think we're roughly 5 hours and 15-20 minutes from Boston. Before I jump into the woods and take you guys on a hike over this property, and stick around, you're going to want to see Mill Brook. We haven't seen it so far this fall, and we've had a drought, so it may be dried up, but we're going to go look for that for you. Stick around, we'll show it to you when we get there. Points of interest from this location. If you're into outdoor recreation of any kind, you can find it here. You can see behind me, that's Mount Chase. It's at the very end of Mountain Road. There's a parking lot there and a beautiful 3.5 mile hike up to the top of Mount Chase. That's a 2,400 foot peak roughly. And once you're up there, you got beautiful views of Mount Katahdin off to the west, and the Traveler Mountain, which connects to Katahdin and all the mountains there in Baxter State Park. And that brings me to Baxter State Park, over 200,000 acre state park. It's the largest park in the state of Maine. home to Mount Katahdin, the highest peak in Maine. It's got dozens of other high peaks over 3,000 feet. We've got hundreds, if not thousands, of bodies of water in there, from small creeks to brooks to rivers, ponds, and some larger lakes. Beautiful place, very scenic. Have you ever hiked Mount Chase, folks? Or maybe you've hiked some of Baxter State Park. If you have, share that in the comments down below and let us know what trails are your favorites in Baxter, or if you got some photos you'd like to share of Mount Chase, you can send those to us. As I said earlier, we're also on the International Appalachian Trail System. And right over here to my left is the signage for it. On this small tree right here, we got IAT, SIA, for the French and the English versions of it. The International Appalachian Trail, in case you don't know about it, it starts where Katahdin, at the top of Mount Katahdin, and comes north this way, goes all the way out onto the Gaspé Peninsula in Quebec. And I believe from Georgia south, it goes to Key West, I believe. If you know I'm wrong and you share that in the comments, I'd appreciate it. But I know where it ends up here. Not sure about down south, but I think it's Key West. Also nearby this location is the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument. That's an 87,000 acre chunk of land that borders the eastern boundary of Baxter State Park. Its key features there are probably the east branch of the Penobscot River, Grand Pitch, some beautiful waterfalls and white water down through there, native brook trout swimming in that river, landlocked salmon, some beauties in there. And there's a number of trails and road systems through that, so you want to check that out while you're up here. The North Maine Woods, not too far from here, is the Oxbow entrance on this east side of the North Maine Woods. That's 3.5 million acres up here in the northwest corner of the state of Maine. Encompasses much of Aroostook County, a lot of Piscataquis and Somerset counties. Beautiful area, open to the public, and it's maintained by a number of gates. There are user fees for road use and camping on some of the lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams in there, but it's all pretty reasonable. And if you're familiar with this part of Maine, share that in the comments with us. I know a lot of you come up here from all over the world to hunt, fish, hike, sightsee, or just take a drive through the North Maine Woods. And finally, for outdoor recreation, this road, Mountain Road, is an ATV trail. And it connects up all the way over to Shin Pond Village. It goes south to Patton. You can ride for many miles, and you can also, over this trail system, access some snowmobile trails off to our west that head over towards Shin Pond. Now, for those of you that don't like ATVs and snowmobiles, hey, sorry, we love them up here in Maine. All right, we're on Mountain Road. We're going to jump into the woods. Follow me. We're going to go for a hike on this property. The one thing about this lot is up here in the mountains, but we're actually on a relatively flatter section of earth up here. The elevations, I think, are 670, I think, to 820 above sea level. And we'll have that topo on the screen here for you so you can see that. This property hasn't had any recent timber harvesting on it. I'm guessing from the looks of things it's been well over 20 years. There's a lot of regenerating poplar, spruce fir, and other hardwoods such as maple and yellow birches in here. So it's a beautiful piece of land. It is relatively dense. We're going to walk down across here looking for Millbrook. When we get there, we'll show that to you. The soils on this property are, according to NRCS soil survey, are about 80% Monarda Burnum. And Monarda Burnum is a forest soil. It's good for growing trees, especially spruce fir and maples and some of these hardwoods. It's not great farmland. There is some soil in here, and this is a section of it right here. I think it might have been farm at one time from the looks of it. That's Howland, Plaisted, or Thorndike. Those soil types are pretty good for just about everything from forestry and wildlife to farming, even some intensive farming in certain areas that aren't too rocky. Yeah, but we can see some surface rocks in here. Overall, it's a pretty nice piece of ground on this section coming in here off of Mountain Road. we're going to keep walking through the woods. You can see some of the trees we're passing here. We got some white ash over here, some beauties, white birch, another big yellow birch over here, a big spruce. So it hasn't been decimated by any kind of timber harvest recently. Like I said earlier, you got younger growth here in the understory that's coming up under these older trees. So it's a pretty healthy piece of forest. All right, we're going to walk through the woods here. Next stop, we'll show you the stream. All right, as we continue over towards the brook, I wanted to share a little info with you folks. Couple things. One, out on Route 11, right near the property, there's some old apple trees. And while we were out there, if you're a deer hunter, we saw a tremendous amount of deer sign. I saw a couple rough grouse in there around those apple trees as we were walking through. And this area is pretty well known as really good rough grouse hunting area. And in certain areas, it's pretty good deer hunting here as well. This is big woods, so hunting deer is a little more of a challenge than it is in the more urban areas where the deer are all concentrated in one location. But up here in these big woods, you'll earn it, but you'll enjoy it. You won't have to hear a whole lot of highway noise, and you won't have a lot of other hunters hang around you on your own property, so that's pretty cool. And if you're wondering, as you were walking through the woods, and you'll see some of the photos on our map that we've overlaid, that's the Land ID map software that we utilize, and it's a really cool program. So if you want to check this out in detail, give us a call and give us your email. We'll email you a link, or we can text you the link to the map for this property. That interactive software allows you to see where our photographs were taken. They're geo-referenced to the site on the property. You've got different layers you can look at, from aerial photography, different aerial shots from different ages. There's a couple of different topographic maps in there, color infrared. You can use GIS data that we provide at no cost to you, that includes water features, mountain peaks, floodplain data, all kinds of information on there. So if you're checking out our map, don't look at it quickly. Make sure you take a deep dive into it, because you can find out a lot about this property before you ever get here by utilizing that map software. So, and if you got any questions, you can always call me, and I'll kind of walk you through using that software for the first time. And if you're coming here and you're somewhat techno savvy and you know how to download an app to your Android or your Apple, you can use the map software that I send you as a GPS, showing the overlays of the approximate boundary lot locations, and walk the property without anybody if you're somewhat competent in the woods. But don't forget, make sure you bring that real compass. Don't trust that GPS. Those batteries can die on you, and you don't want to be lost up here in the woods. We're going to keep walking along as we go through here. Like I said, it hasn't been timber harvested in a long time. Here's a stump right here, and that stump is, I'm guessing, at least 15 to 20 years old, if not older. Another one here. So there has been a harvest. Most of Maine was harvested at one time or another over the last couple hundred years. But this property does have a lot of beautiful trees that are mature, some that could be harvested right now, such as this big spruce tree right here that's probably 50, 60 feet tall, and it's about 15, 16 inches in diameter at breast height. So it's a nice tree. We got a lot of balsam fir in here. Some of it's actually grown up, died, and fallen over. You can see those laying in here too. We're going to keep walking, folks, and eventually we're going to get you to Millbrook. All right, folks, we made it over here to Millbrook, and this is a freestone stream that runs off the backsides of the mountains up here: Mount Chase, Bald Mountain, Pickett Mountain. They're all off to the north and slightly west of us here. And remember I talked about that compass just a short time ago? Well, here's a good thing you need to know. Topographic data is not always perfect, and this stream is a long ways from where it shows it on the map. So when you're down here, the contour lines are not accurately represented on the topographic map. And I find that all the time. And I'm sure any of you who've spent a lot of time in the woods, not that it's horribly wrong, it's in the general location, but we're about 300 feet from where the map showed the brook to be, and obviously it's been here for a long time. This little brook's still running, even in the drought we've had this year. Crystal clear water. Probably a pretty dependable year-round water source for this lot, for all the wildlife here. I can envision setting a tree stand up on that big spruce down there, or maybe one of these large cedars and hardwoods behind me. But what a beautiful spot to hunt, sit here, listen to this brook, and wait for that 14-point buck to come wandering down this stream looking for some does. So come on up and take a look at this property with folks. We're going to walk some more of the land, see if we can find any boundaries. So far, the boundaries we're not finding clearly marked. We can see where they are roughly based on the old timber harvest, but evidence, we found a few old spots, nothing really good. So that, keep that in mind. Something you're probably going to want to do here after you buy the property would be maybe get a surveyor in here, flag it up for you, and do some boundary marking. This property references back to the 1800s lotting plan, so it was surveyed at one point. It's just been a long time. All right, over here on the western side of the property, just north of Millbrook, and look at this hemlock tree. This baby's probably been here for 200 plus years. Nice tree. What a perfect ladder tree. We've got probably an area that was heavily harvested at one time. It's all grown back into young spruce fir and hardwoods now. Put some shooting lanes here. The brook's just off to our right, a little bit to the southwest of us. Beautiful spot to hunt right here. And we've got a lot of young growth coming in here. The ground is relatively smooth. It looks like it's the howland type soil that we were talking about earlier. And according to the site, I think it is. This is a place for a small food plot out here for you hunters. Hopefully you're not too upset with me for being a hunter, but I am, and I enjoy being in the woods, getting away with friends and family. It's a really cool thing we have up here in Maine. So let's keep walking. We're going to see if we can find the northern boundary in the northwest corner. We're over here getting up towards the northwest corner of the land, and one of the things I forgot to mention, Mount Chase, I know I talked about it earlier. This property with a little bit of clearing here could easily get a nice view of the mountain. I can see it clear as day through the hardwoods here right now with the leaves off. You'd have to cut an acre or two out. But once you cleared that, what a beautiful view of that mountain you'd have. And that's kind of looking to the northwest a little bit of us, or almost due west actually. We're in mostly a hardwood grove over here. Another thing I wanted to show you is here is one of the biggest American beech trees I've seen in quite a while. We've got a number of them here. There's one here that's from the ground up to the first crotch in the tree is probably 30 feet. And then another couple big ones over there. Another one over there. They do show evidence of the beech bark disease, but they're getting quite large, so they obviously survived it. And then heading back to the south and towards the brook, we got more spruce fir mix. But over here on this northern side of the brook, we got primarily hardwoods. All right, we're back here where we think the northern line should have been, or should be. We're not seeing a lot of evidence. However, we've got an old dead beech tree with a blue spot over a yellow spot over a scar on the tree, which is what we call a blaze, and that's a pretty good indication of somebody thought the boundary was here, maybe a surveyor, maybe a forester. And down here on the ground is a dead tree with an old blaze on it as well, and that tree was standing right here. And then back here I can see, I'm just noticing it now, another blue blaze with some orange paint underneath it. So this has been here for decades and decades. Now that we're on it, I'm actually seeing more blue paint going through the woods. So do I look excited? I like it when I find at least some boundary evidence on a property. We're going to follow this west and see if we can find a corner. According to our overlay from the tax records and the old lotting plan, we should be pretty close to that old corner. And keep in mind, folks, I'm not a surveyor. I can't guarantee this is accurate. I can't guarantee any pin. If there's a pin in the ground with a surveyor's cap on it, you better ask the surveyor if that's where he put it. Got to cover your butt in this business, but that's the nature of it. But keep that in mind as you're walking these properties. Most of the time, the evidence we find, especially stuff that's been here for obviously decades, is probably going to hold true. But again, if you're really concerned about location, talk to a surveyor. We're over here and then what we believe to be the northwest corner. We've got multiple spots on both sides of this tree, which typically would indicate a corner. I can see paint heading to the south going on this, what would be the western boundary line. We're going to follow that back towards the road and see if it continues. But good evidence. Glad to see it. The brook crossed again on this north line about 150 feet back. So the boundary, the brook comes across the boundary on the northern boundary, meanders through the property before it heads off the south end before crossing Route 11. So that's where we're at right now. We're going to keep walking out here, and as we do, we'll eventually get back out the road, talk a little bit more about the property, and wrap this video up for you. Folks, we came off that western boundary line, and we're heading pretty much due east right at the moment. There's a beaver pond near the center of this, according to the aerial photography. We're going to try to get over there and show that to you. Of course, having the sun out, my compass isn't quite as necessary as it normally would be, but those of you who have watched my videos in the past, I'm always talking about a couple things you should bring with you in the woods, and obviously I've got my compass with me today. I'm walking through these thick branches. What is it that I forgot? If you know what I've always talked about in the past, share that in the comments below. I forgot something that's kind of a safety product, but those of you who've been watching, you probably know what it is. And we're right back to Mill Brook. And I know we've already looked at the brook. This is kind of a wider section of it right here, a little deeper. We're gonna have to find a place to cross it. This brook flows for about 3,200 feet or so through the property. There's another brook that comes in and enters into Mill Brook that forms up that beaver pond near the center before it then runs out and goes across Route 11. So total here, we got about 4,800 feet of stream or brook frontage along these two water sources, and we're going to get down there and show that to you here in a minute, but as soon as we find a place right here to get across this brook. So stick around, we're going to head down and see if we can find that beaver flowage for you. We're walking along Mill Brook heading east looking for that beaver pond, and we came across this beautiful little mini waterfall here, and there's a little section of cascading waterfalls, one up above, one here, one down below me. We've got some exposed bedrock here where the stream is cut right down to it. Couldn't help but stop and share this with you. What a special spot this would be for a little hike in the woods and come out here with the kids. And if you can imagine this under normal water conditions, it's going to be a much more dramatic set of falls and a lot more sound from the water. But it's really beautiful here, even in a drought condition. We're down here now, and this is the elevation change. We're on the western side of the lot. We're heading towards that beaver pond, and there's a very distinct drop in elevation right here, probably 8 to 10 feet. Some nice smooth level ground up here that looks like it could be good for anything from forestry to farming, clear of trees obviously. And then as we step down, you'll notice we get some of the wetland grasses. This is probably that Monarda Burnham soil that we talked about earlier. It is typically more hydric soil, and yeah, it's definitely damper in here from the little bit of rain we had the other night. It tends to grow these hardwoods that you're seeing, some balsam fir. There's a lot of red maple and yellow and white birch in here too. And we're probably about 500 feet from the first of two of those beaver ponds we're hoping to show you. I'm guessing there's not going to be much water in them because of the lack of rain this year, but we'll see. We'll be there shortly. We're down here and we're in what I like to call the weeds. Mill Brook is just to my left. This wetland I'm seeing out in front of me here is the first one you're going to see. It's the one near the southern line and on the westerly most wetland. So if you're looking at the aerial photo, Mill Brook's right here. This is where it's flowing into this beaver pond. I'm not sure we're going to be able to get out to that too far because I don't have hip boots on. But right now, we're in some higher ground. Parallel in the stream, we've seen a lot of deer and moose sign using this little run of woods on the edge of the stream, which is kind of cool. And there's the opening out ahead of me here. You can see a lot of browsing by the moose and deer on these small hardwoods. Yeah, I'm guessing on a dry year you can almost walk across this. If we had a lot of rain, a lot of water, you'd want some knee-high boots out here anyway, maybe hip boots. Here's some all kinds of moose sign in here. You can see where they've been walking through this wet ground. But really, like I said, big moose track right here. Love to see one, but we've been making a lot of noise, so we're probably not going to sneak up on too much game. I was showing the cameraman back there. We obviously jumped something. It stirred the leaves up when it was running the opposite direction. This is that wetland. You can see the alders off here behind me. Really nice habitat for moose, deer, ducks, geese, beavers, otters, probably you name it. Everybody likes water. Even us humans like our water. And we appreciate it more when we're running out of it, don't we? So let's, we've seen this. We're gonna head southwest back to my pickup and we'll wrap this up for you. Well, folks, it's kind of fun to have you along when I'm out on a property exploring it, and I haven't been on it a lot. And we found some blazes here on the southern boundary, or where we think it should be again. As I said, surveyor, make sure you check. But we've got some red blazes heading back to the west, and that's the direction we would expect it to be. The pickup is that way, so we're gonna follow this line. I just wanted to show that to you. So I'm feeling pretty good. We found some northern boundary evidence, we found western boundary evidence, and we have found the southern boundary evidence. Or at least, again, that caveat, I'm not a surveyor, so it may or may not be right, but it's been there for a long time. Well, folks, we made it back out to the pickup, and thanks for taking the walk with me in the woods here today. If you need more information, you can reach out to me. We'll be happy to send you a property information packet by email, which will include the interactive map. So the property here, what do you think? This is a beautiful piece of forest land up here in the heart of outdoor recreation in northern Maine, close to all the parks and recreational areas, ATV, snow sled trails, hunting, fishing, hiking, you name it, right from the property. Price on this lot is $170,000. The taxes are just about $900 per year. This property is not in the tree growth tax program, for those of you who are wondering. We got frontage out on Route 11 with power and telephone available out there. We've got over 4,000 feet of stream frontage running through the property. We got different age classes of timber. Like I said, if you got any questions, give me a call. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to the channel by clicking on that notification bell down below. You'll put on all notifications. You won't miss the next video we put out. Thanks again for taking the tour with me today. Have a good one.